Hey friends, so I'm really excited to talk to you today about the topic that I have in mind, and that is flow. I love it because it's something that I've experienced in the past, that idea of doing something where you completely lose time. But it's really cool to know that there's scientific proof around flow, that it's actually a thing. So in 1990, Dr. Csikszentmihalyi, and don't ask me to spell it, but he developed and studied this concept of flow. So there are physical benefits to frequent focused periods of time in flow. One, it increases your life satisfaction. It also increases your productivity and your levels of achievement. It's better for your health, and it increases your creativity. So you definitely want to incorporate more periods of flow in your life. Now, I do want to put in the distinction between relaxation, which is super important as well, and flow. So relaxation is considered more of a passive consumption of time. There's not really a lot of energy involved. As a matter of fact, with relaxation, you kind of don't want to use a lot of energy, and it can be a lot more mindless. Whereas flow, when you're in flow, it is an active participation. There's an active experience involved in flow. So you are using mental energy in flow versus trying to calm your mind down. So here are a few characteristics of being in flow. First thing is there is some challenge and skill involved. So you're definitely using your mind, and you want to incorporate increasing levels of challenge so that you don't get bored. It also requires focus. So usually when you're in flow, you need that for that activity, you need to like shut out everything else. Okay. So we're focused. There's challenge and skill, concentration. You definitely need to have lots of concentration. Another thing that's super important is there's a clear goal. So this isn't something that it just goes on forever. There's a goal. So maybe there's a finished product or finished project, or maybe you're trying to reach a certain level. So you're always trying to meet some sort of goal. There also is immediate feedback. So this isn't necessarily something where you do it now and you won't know the outcome for days or months later. It's usually something that you can get the feedback right away. So for example, in my previous life, I was in digital marketing. I managed websites, corporate websites, and managed website projects. But I often got the opportunity to do some development for those websites and develop web pages. And I would literally get swallowed up in that. I could go for hours just developing and coding these pages. So one, it required some skill, like I had to know how to build those pages. It was challenging to me because sometimes, first of all, just figuring out, how do I lay the page out? What is the language, the coding language to make this show up in a certain way? Then it required focus. But by being focused on it, I also ended up tuning out a lot of what was going on around me. But it required focus. It definitely used up time, like all sense of time would just diminish. There was definitely a goal, a finished page, and maybe for that day, I wasn't planning on finishing a page, but I would want to get to a certain period or a certain point in that development. And then lastly, you get immediate feedback. Like I would put in a line of code and I can look at the page. Did it show up correctly? If it did, great. If it didn't, go back to the drawing board. And so this was just a sense of flow that I would feel often. Another example, I love to do jigsaw puzzles on my laptop. I used to love to do them live, with actual physical puzzles, but I have animals who eat puzzle pieces, and also it takes up a lot of space. So I found, online apps that I could do my puzzles, and I can lose hours, literally hours, doing these puzzles. So again, what's involved? There's some challenge and skill involved. I tend to do the puzzles with the highest level of number of pieces. It does require some skill, some problem solving. Can you see the pictures? It requires focus. I have to be looking at the screen. I can't be, mindlessly doing this puzzle. For me, I have clear goals. Whenever I set aside some time to work on my puzzles, I'm not just, I'll finish the whole puzzle, because there's, these aren't just, 5-piece puzzles. They're usually 1,000+ pieces. So maybe I'll set a goal to finish all of the sky or this right corner. So I'll set a goal, and I usually cannot stop until I've finished, I've gotten to a certain finishing point. And then lastly, requiring some sort of feedback. I mean, it's immediate. This piece doesn't fit, or this piece fits. And I even have, the sound on so that I can hear the piece snap in place. So there's this level of satisfaction around, finding the right piece. So these are points where, I find myself in flow. And definitely a feeling of losing track of time. It plays with my creativity, and it brings out creativity. It makes me, if I'm doing something for work, I can be very productive. If I'm doing something for fun, it's still productive. It's active, engaging time. It's not just sitting there mindlessly. The last piece that is a characteristic of flow, which sets it apart from other things that you might be doing that you can lose time in, but is not flow, is intrinsic motivation, meaning you're doing it for your own sense of purpose, something that you want to do because you want to do it. You enjoy doing it, not because you have to do it. So an example, there might be a project I'm working on, let's say tax time. I can sit down and get my taxes done and be completely focused on it. And it hits all of those levels, all of those characteristics. Every year, there's some new tax law that's challenging. It requires some sort of skill to understand what you're doing. You have to, it requires focus. There is a challenge. And I do mine on TurboTax, so there's immediate feedback. I get to see, am I getting money back? Am I paying? Am I doing this correctly? Do I have more to do? But what's missing? Intrinsic motivation. I am not doing my taxes because I enjoy doing taxes. I'm doing taxes because I have to do taxes. Therefore, when I'm doing my taxes and I might be kind of moving along with the flow, I'm not actually in flow. Now, a tax accountant might be in flow doing it, but I'm not. So that's the difference between something that maybe you're doing and you're losing all sense of time. But for it to really be flow is that motivation, that sense of something that you really enjoy doing. And the other piece is your own control. You're not being forced to do it. So again, those two kind of go together. So the idea here is that you want to increase the periods of time where you find yourself in flow. It can be at work. It can be outside of work. It can be with your friends. It could be by yourself. But you want to increase those times of flow. So on Thursday, I will share some tips on how to increase flow in your life, whether it's something that you're already doing or how to find ways to incorporate flow into your life. So hope you enjoyed that, and I'll talk to you next time.